How real is this Jeff Teague thing? How close is it?
I wouldn't say close, because for it to happen, Atlanta's going to have to be very interested in Iman Shumpert, and they're going to have to want to get off Jeff Teague's long-term money. That would be the main motivation if Atlanta says, we'll go ahead and do this. So still trying to ascertain how serious they are, because, of course, we know the Knicks don't have draft picks to throw in to sweeten a trade offer, so that always complicates things. But the Knicks, you heard Carmelo Anthony at All-Star Weekend. He says that they're playing tomorrow night in Memphis, and Woody's going to be the coach. So the total focus right now in Knicks land is they've got to upgrade at the point guard. That's their number one priority. They're calling all over the league. They just don't think they can get Kyle Lowry at this point. That's the guy they've chased since November, so they've started digging into Teague.
Now, is the Lowry thing off because Toronto's insisted on Hardaway Jr. and a pick?
You want to know? Honestly, there are mixed signals there. I've heard that the Knicks would be willing to give up one of the demands that Toronto is asking for. That's how bad they want Lowry. Now, I think the Knicks, if they were on the line, they'd probably deny that. I think Toronto's also in this weird position where they're doing so well now, and they haven't, in the last 10 years, they've barely tasted the playoffs. So to trade away a guy who is a borderline all-star, and really a lot of people thought should have been an all-star, in a year you're finally going to make the playoffs and possibly win the division, that would send a pretty bad message from Toronto to one of the league's most loyal fan bases. So I think they just kind of feel like they can't really trade Lowry unless it's a knock-your-socks-off offer. And the Knicks can't really put together one of those, even if they're willing to meet Toronto's demands.
I'm curious, Mark, in the NBA, the rule is you can't trade first-round draft picks in successive years. So when's the next first-round pick that the Knicks could actually surrender?
I want to say if my memory is right, and it is a little shaky after a long All-Star weekend, I want to say 2018. Wow. That's the next available first-round pick they have.
Wow. Now, Teague is a nice player, Mark. And, I'm reading in your story on ESPN.com that the Hawks might think he's making too much money. Well, they gave it to him, and it's 4 years, $32 million. So that's what, $8 million a year?
Here's the deal. He was a restricted free agent in the summertime.
Right.
And Milwaukee puts a 4-year, $32 million offer sheet on the table. The Hawks had just drafted Dennis Schroeder in June, and Dennis Schroeder is a highly rated European point guard who they think can develop nicely, but probably wasn't ready to make the jump straight to the NBA in year one because he's still pretty young. I really feel like Danny Ferry matched that offer sheet to keep Jeff Teague as a trade asset. I think he felt like an $8 million point guard in this league is tradable. So even though it's a 4-year deal, let's match that offer sheet, and if we keep him for one more year and have to move him later, we can. So, and I think Danny Ferry's right. $8 million isn't an unreasonable salary for a frontline point guard. It's probably a little high, but I don't think it's outrageous. Teague started the season really well. He's not quite maintained it, but I mean, you guys know the Knicks better than me. They've been known to lapse into a desperate state here and there, and I think the way they finished the first half, I think that's where they are. And the bigger part that surprises me is, to take on long-term money impacts the Knicks down the road. Right. So if the Knicks were willing to do this, that catches my eye more than anything.
Do you believe that the interest in Teague is driven by Woodson? Does Woodson like him?
I don't know that they're making any decisions right now based on what Mike does or doesn't like. I think they want Mike to finish the season, but the biggest reason is because they don't have what they feel to be a viable alternative. Now, they've got guys on their bench who've coached before, but they've been resistant to putting any of those assistants in the hot seat, and I don't think they want to throw Allen Houston down there when he's never coached a practice. So they want Woodson to get them to the end of the season so they can do a proper search, not an on-the-run in-season search. I really don't think that the previous relationship Woody had with Teague in Atlanta is any kind of factor here.
Talking to Marc Stein, our very own here on the Michael Kay Show, ESPN New York 98.7 FM. We're also hearing rumors about the Brooklyn Nets maybe sending Jason Terry to Cleveland for Jared Jack. Are you hearing the same things? How real is that?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense from the Nets' perspective. They want another ball handler and another scorer on the bench, and the Nets are that one team in the NBA universe who really don't care about the luxury tax. And so they will happily take on Jarrett Jack has 2 years left on his deal guaranteed at more than $12 million. So they will they'd be willing to take him on. The sense I get, though, is that Cleveland would probably be looking for a third team to take on Jason Terry in a deal like that. I don't know if they can be successful finding one because Jason Terry's owed almost $6 million next season, and he's 36 now. But that's a very that is definitely the kind of player that the Nets would be targeting.
Talking with Marc Stein, the ESPN.com senior NBA writer. Before we let you go, a big part of NBA All-Star Weekend was Carmelo making the statement that he would take less to stay with the Knicks. I don't think there's any validity in that at all. He's a free agent before everybody's a free agent on the Knicks roster, so it's either sign him for everything or not keep him. Do you believe he'll take less to stay with the Knicks?
It really doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense because he could take less, but it's not going to help the Knicks next year. I mean, he would have to take so much less that it's preposterous to even talk about it. So he's better off just taking as much money as he can get and waiting till 2015. That's the problem. I mean, that's the problem for Carmelo is the Knicks have to shell out all this cash just to keep things as is and basically wait one more season until they have the flexibility to go do something. But I think Carmelo really wants to be a Knick. That's definitely the vibe. It was the vibe at All-Star Weekend. It's the vibe when you talk to anybody close to him. I really don't think he's looking to leave. So, I mean, I think at this point you have to expect that he's going to stay.